Monoxide's got a message for all the Chainsmokers. And it's just this way, at the Dim Carnival.
Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week, we have a very special episode because we're talking about Monoxide Child, or perhaps just Monoxide. We're talking about his debut LP, Chainsmoker. And it's going to be a really interesting conversation because, this is right on the heels of the second Blaze LP, where we felt that it was a perfectly competent rap album that didn't really grab us. And, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the album. It's just we didn't really care about it and don't care to revisit it. And I'm interested to see our thoughts on a similar album that is a straightforward rap album by a very good MC, that has good production. Like, in a lot of ways, it is very similar to Colton Grundy, but I have a feeling we'll have some different things to say about it. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that very much in the era that this LP was made, if you look up this album if you go to listen to it on Spotify, on YouTube Music, or on Apple Music, which is where I listen to it, out of the 14 tracks, all but 2 of them are mislabeled. And I think this is very much a function of how metadata was placed onto CDs at the time, particularly with independent record releases. And this is actually something that happened with, I believe, with the original release of the Dark Lotus album. There were some mislabeled songs on there. In fact, I'm positive that this happened on the Dark Lotus album. There were a couple of tracks that either had incorrect titles or the titles were swapped. For anyone who is not old enough to remember, in the year 2004, when Monoxide's album came out, from about I would say the years like 2000 to 2004, pretty much the way it worked if you had a computer is you put a CD in your computer or laptop, and you put the CD in, and your computer read the CD, and if iTunes in particular was your default player, or if you went to listen to it in iTunes, it would either say like import song data from the internet, and then you would click yes, or it would say like multiple albums found for this particular thing, import which data, and you would click from a list of what the CD was, because I'm not now, at this point, I'm a little bit fuzzy, because I believe that, especially with independent releases, that this was crowdsourced metadata. I don't believe it was I believe on the major releases, like, the studios probably had some hand in transferring that data to iTunes. But I think on independent releases, like punk albums in particular and stuff from Psychopathic Records, I think that was just really big fans that would put in the metadata and send it to iTunes so that it would be public. And I might be talking out of my ass here, but there were plenty of independent punk releases that I listened to, and ska bands and indie rock bands that you put in a CD and it's just no information found. So you had to type in all the song titles yourself. And then sometimes it would be hey, we found 3 different titles that match this, or we had found 5 different titles that match this, and it would all be pretty close to each other, or there would be one thing that you're actually looking for, that you're one thing that's the actual CD that you bought, and then 4 Swedish things in a different language. So it was all really fucked up, and it's absolutely crazy that that's how music was transmitted via global libraries. And so I think that the fact that across every legitimate platform, like Spotify and Apple Music, like this shit is coming either directly from Monoxide and M&E, or it's coming directly from Psychopathic Records, but it's coming from some official aspect of the artist. And the fact that all of the songs are mislabeled on these official streaming platforms leads me to believe that this is an artifact of the fact that whenever this shit was either mislabeled by one fan, or Psychopathic Records gave the wrong track list, like a primary track list, to these streaming services or to iTunes, it stayed that way. And at no point along the way did anyone give a fuck about correcting it. Or, like in 2004 and 2005, Monoxide and Psychopathic Records were like, shit, it's all fucked up. How do we change it? And the ways of trying to go about changing the metadata on every iTunes in the world was like so draconian and complex that there was really no way to do it. Like you had one shot at doing it. And they were like, well, fuck it. And then when iTunes and that metadata kept transferring over and over and over to these other streaming platforms as digital media evolved, like it was just such a lost cause at that point that there was really no point in course correcting, because I imagine that like 99% of all of the listens of this album happened from the years 2004 to 2006. And like the amount of people that is listening to Chainsmoker LP is like maybe 100 like diehard Twisted fans, and then like the people who listen to this podcast. So it probably spiked like the week that we gave you guys this assignment. So I don't know, like I may be talking out my ass here, but that's how I interpret this as happening. What do you guys think?
Well, I think about people listening to it, it was pretty high up on the bill. Well, it made it to like the 140s, if I'm not mistaken, on the Billboard 200 list.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that, you're saying the only people listening to it now are,
yes.
My mistake.
Like the percentage of people listening to Chainsmoker LP in 2020, like from the time that the Chainsmoker LP made it onto Spotify and Apple Music, I can't imagine the amount of people listening to it was like enough to like, we're probably the first people to listen to it on that service that are like, these track listings are all fucked up.
Because a lot of diehard fans would be listening to it.
And honestly, since I listened to it and didn't look at the track list names as I was listening to it, like the 2 or 3 times I listened to it, I almost certainly would never have noticed if Steve hadn't sent us a long text being like, "Hey guys, all these track names are wrong." Steve, I just want to preface, Steve is very serious about this album and loves it a lot and has a lot to say about it. And he sent us a very now when you guys are listening to this album, I want you to be sure to know that these track names are incorrect. So don't let that color your enjoyment of the album. Here are the correct track names for each song.
It was so confusing when I went back and it was so confusing when I went back and read it, because based on my notes, I like wrote the track name and I'm like, right, and then I wrote the next track name, I'm like, this is actually, and then wrote the track name, this is actually, and so like when I went back and looked at my notes and I'm looking at one of 2 of the right ones, I was like, this song's called Right? What the fuck is that? There's no song called Right on this. I was like misreading my notes that that's the right title. It's hilarious.
Well, the first thing Steve said was that everything was all fucked up, and my thought was, well, it's going to make it really hard to listen to it, and talk about it if we can't agree on which song we're talking about. But then fortunately it turns out that the album is in correct order. It's just the song titles are different.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't take a look at the names too closely my first couple listens through, but I would look up the name of a track, as one went by, I liked it, look at the name. And then later on I would hear like a chorus that's the title of the song that I had listened to 3 songs ago. I'm like, oh yeah, this is clearly not, this isn't that song at all.
And I think further complicating the matter are the fact that there are two tracks that are skits.
Yes.
That like don't factor into like the Wikipedia track listing.
Excellent work, Paul, in choosing to make those separate tracks. Which I think
now, I gotta get this out of the way real quick. I think the structure of the album is so fucked up because there's a 1 minute song. There's a 1 minute song to start the album. Like
it's not even a song. It doesn't have a chorus.
A super good like table setting song. Like,
show a side of what I'm made of before all my contact lenses and wearing makeup. Even before the House of Crazies had to break up. If you don't know who that is, look the name up. A little change in your music's what you need, and if you don't mind, I'm about to set it off and proceed. So, light your weed and keep an ashtray close, cause this shit right here will drive a person to smoke.
First intro song, like, we're about to listen to a cool rap album. Here we go. And then like a 3 minute skit. The second track. So
brilliant.
It's the worst way to open an album, but it doesn't hurt the album.
He's trying to set you up, you know.
You
got to be in that kind of mood.
He's like, first he hits you, and he pumps you up. This is gonna be a badass album. Check this out, and then it starts right off showing you like how unlucky he is in real life, you know, like his real life, how unlucky he is by getting stuck in smoking a cigarette.
I'm outside.
In a goddamn I'm outside. Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but
police brutality skit, pretty
very
timely.
Prescient. I do really love the. Hang on, man. I know how to talk to these people. What seems to be the problem?
Well, the problem, sir, is I'm smoking in my car. Out of the car and on the ground.
Pardon me, officer. My friend and I are a little high. We were looking for Main Street.
Take it easy.
There's nothing like Dave Chappelle's white guy voice. I just gotta say.
This skit is very, very long. And but I thought it was tremendous. I thought that,
it's a good skit. It shouldn't be the second track on the album.
That's probably true.
Okay. If it's the first track on the album, great. If it's the 5th track on the album, great. But you did a 1 minute fucking rap song. That the entire point is like, here we go. The album's about to start. Let's fucking get into it. And then like, excuse me, sir.
No, there's no
smoke at the drive-thru, sir. We're on our property.
I'm okay with it, man.
But it sets the themes of the album, as Steve said. Number 1, smoking. Number 2, he's unlucky.
Yeah.
Those are the themes.
It's continuity.
Yeah. All right, you guys jump in.
I thought this album kicked fucking ass. Had a great time listening. That's it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week, guys.
All right. Well, obviously, for lots of reasons, I love this album, and I've been saying it on lots of podcasts leading up to this. Trying to figure out like how I want to start about what I like about the album. For one, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it is a concept album in a way, but from Psychopathic Records, every album is a concept album where each character,
unless it's Colton Grundy.
Well, but I mean, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like every character is far removed from the person. I mean, not that they don't actually reference to their real lives at times. They do, but like you'll never really like insinuate that Violent J really, or Joe Bruce really is Violent J.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this album, I mean, you still know on a level like this, like Paul is not really Monoxide, but he is. And that's like a distinction between Twisted and ICP, where their characters are a little more interlaced to their real people, whereas ICP are very, even though their real lives are mixed in it, they're still very much clowns and characters.
Right.
And
the makeup never comes off on Violent
yes,
J. But Paul actually has the lyric. He's like, before the contacts and makeup, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just talk about it like it's not, their faces don't look like that. They paint their faces to look like that.
Yeah. And clearly, like, Monoxide as a character is narrating the life of the real person, Paul. And the overall art story and concept of the album is Paul slowly turning into Monoxide. And I mean, if you follow like the continuity of like each song and how slowly it turns from like listing out his life and things he experienced to just being kind of almost twisted like songs and stuff, and just like songs that are on like Evil and different songs like that by that time. You know what I mean? As the album ends.
Wow.
And so I felt like this is a concept album for Psychopathic Records because it feels so real to a real person.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to Jamie Madrox's solo album, and it's really good too, but I almost can't tell you anything about that album other than Fat Kids. And it's a good album, and I really can't wait to listen to it again because I really feel like I'll appreciate it more. But like, I mean, there's like I think I'm pretty sure it's off this album. There's a lyric that says, "I got MCs in my like pieces of MCs in my shit bigger than you." Like, that's like one of my favorite things off that album. I can't really tell you what that album's about other than like him being fat and eating a lot and being a good rapper. Where like this album just really draws me in, and which also is surprising to me from just, I would never say that like Monoxide is the Shaggy of Twisted because they're much more equal as MCs and their talent between them. But I mean, even though this may be one of my favorite albums in a lot of ways on Psychopath, not completely favorite, but I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I like it more than Malenko or something, but it's better than any other solo album, at least, that's released on Psychopathic Records, except for maybe I think I still might like Wizard in the Hood a little bit better because I still am drawn to the concept and the story. But this album is so good to me, and the way that he lays out the story, and it's just not a story. I mean, it is, but it's not the Dark Carnival aspect. And it feels, so that makes it feel more like a concept album to me based on being on this record label. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and it's just interesting because I mean, he's very, very talented, but I would say Jamie would technically be the most talented one based on just like my favorite lines of any songs that they're ever a part of. But this album's so much better than like Jamie's album and other, like, you know, obviously Shaggy's. And so anyways.
Well, shit, man, that was fucking dope. I completely agree with you. I can definitely see it now, just even reading down the song titles about, like, you know, things that are important to him or challenge, you know, basically, well, I don't need to go over what you just said. I'll just say it my own way. That I feel like it's a really personal album, obviously. And that was one thing, the main takeaway for me is that I'm always reminded, I always forget, and I'm always reminded when we listen to Twisted that they have serious songs, and like ICP never has a serious, really, really serious song, you know?
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's horror related, you know, but not like about themselves. Which I guess they probably start to do more of. But in the first 6 Jokers cards, not so much, maybe.
Yeah.
And so it's weird to hear him rapping about being his personal life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that your read is the correct one, but I wouldn't have gotten that if you hadn't said so. I just viewed it as like this was, so I viewed it like a little bit more surface level of like, this is just Monoxide's life story. But, I think that you're correct, and it's way more high concept than that. And it's Monoxide, narrating his life story of turning into Monoxide. And I think that's really cool, and it makes me appreciate the album more. But yeah, I thought so my first listen, and again, I did the thing where I just kind of listened to it in the background as a first listen. The first listen, I was like, it's, you know, it's the same thing as Colton Grundy. Like, it's a really good, really competent rap album, but like, there's nothing that's jumping out at me. But when I sat down and actually listened to it, I was like, oh, this is night and day from Colton Grundy, because this is interesting shit that's relatable that I care about. Like, it's so, what we talked about with Colton Grundy is like, everything on that album is like, I'm a cool rap guy, I do cool rap things, but I'm a character of like, and it wasn't even consistent throughout of like, I'm a dead guy who does cool rap things. Cause like, One Less G in the Hood was like very clearly, I'm this specific gangster rapper, and this is how I live my life this is how I lived my life as a gangsta, and this is how I'm living my life right now as a zombie gangsta. Like, that was One Less G in the Hood, and it was awesome. And Colton Grundy was like so nebulous of like, we barely understand who Colton Grundy is until the second to last song on the album. It's so vague about like who Colton Grundy is as he's doing this thing. And most importantly, like, why should we give a fuck about this person and the fact that they do cool things and murderous things? Like, why do we give the tiniest shit about that? And on Monoxide's album, it's completely grounded in like reality of like, this is me, Paul Methrick, and this is what I went through as a kid, and this is my life story, and this is how I came up through House of Crazies, and you know me, you know the guy from Twisted, and now I'm finally telling you my whole life story, and like, fucking, I'm in. Cool. I want to hear about that. The introspective ICP shit is great, because we want to know more about them as people, and we get it, and that's all you need to do. Like, if you know, whatever the fuck Blaze's real name is, if he just told us about, like, if he just once in a while broke kayfabe and, like, here's a rap song about me, the person behind Blaze. Like, ABK's album, that's all ABK does is talk about himself as the real person ABK, you know? And that's why we like that album so much. And, like, so much of ABK's identity is tied up in, like, the fact that he's Native American. He raps about, you know, being Native American and like, that shit's all cool. And it's just like, that's all you have to do to like, that's the difference between Colton Grundy and Chainsmoker is like, I'm a real person and I'm telling real shit about my life, and fucking cool. I'm in, you know, cause you're talented and the music is good and I want to listen to it, you know?
Yeah. The music is really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, to me, like, there are so many songs on this album that have such stupid hooks, but like an hour later, I'll find myself singing one of the hooks. So like, mission accomplished, you know?
Yeah.
The hooks are pretty bad.
Like the hook for the theme song of the John Quinones, show, What Would You Do? The worst show on television. No? Okay. Didn't land.
No,
all right.
Don't know it.
Moving on. Someone listening will appreciate it.
So I couldn't find, there are lots of different people that get production credits on this album, but the only one that I did not know is Jay Ha, and Jay Ha produced like half the records on this track, and they don't have a Wikipedia page. I couldn't really find them by like Googling the name or anything, so no idea who this person is.
You know, that's funny that you say that, because this is the first album of all these things that I actually looked up the history of. And I'll get to, I don't want to.
You have the answer? You're going to slow roll me?
No. I don't have the answer.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I was going to say, I was looking up specific lyrics to stuff to say, what does that mean? And just like got on a rabbit hole of just, you know, this album and eventually when we reach it, like, I have this big question is like, is there an ICP diss on this, or who are they dissing?
Yeah, I wrote that down as well.
And so like, it made me look up, was this released on Psychopathic Records? And it was, but, and I was like, if it is an ICP diss, why would it be on this album? There is something that, everyone, well, I mean, Blaze and, obviously Jamie and, also ABK rap on this album, but Shaggy and Violent J don't.
Mm-hmm.
Except for and I could be super wrong, but there's a skit in What Would You Do in the beginning, and I always thought that sounded like Shaggy, where he's like saying like, I know you're saying that those people don't like you around the corner, but I went over there and they're actually talking good about you, and it's about like, Monoxide being all paranoid all the time. And I always thought that sounded like Shaggy talking to me, but doesn't necessarily have to. I don't think it is him now in retrospect, but I was curious if you even like thought about
the drive-through guy kind of sounds like Jay.
Oh, I never even considered that. I always like wondered who was doing it, but yeah, okay.
It could be.
Neither one of them are credited for anything on that album, though. I went through.
I'd be surprised if it was then.
Yeah,
but it could be.
So,
guys, can we talk about smoking for a second?
If we must.
Yes, please.
Okay. The album art, the album cover for this album
great.
is
it's
Newports. Yeah, pack of Newports.
It's great.
Love that. Really, impressed with, Monoxide's ability to keep that smoking theme always injected in every song.
It's very important to him.
Central to his being, right? His identity.
Now, we've been saying Monoxide, we've been saying Monoxide Child. The album art denotes this as Monoxide, not Monoxide Child. And it prompts the question, at what point does a Monoxide Child become a Monoxide adult? A Monoxide man, baby.
On the album where he tells his life story.
Would it be inappropriate to have the word child or a character whose name is Child and have their album art be cigarettes?
No.
It's not controversial.
I mean, Van Halen has a goddamn album of a baby cherub smoking.
Well, that was in 2004. We're a lot more sensible in 2004 about stuff like that.
There's a really awesome Goodbye Harry album, which is the band that the second singer of All started after he left All. The second Goodbye Harry album is called I Can Smoke Too, and it's a drawing of a kid blowing a big smoke cloud.
See, I personally think it's fine for kids to smoke because I don't like kids, so I don't really give a shit. Give your baby a cigarette. It will shut it up.
Look, you know what, dude? I watched Donald Duck force all three of his nephews to smoke an entire box of cigars that they bought for him.
Right.
Because he's a fucking piece of shit.
Boy, did their faces turn green.
Oh, boy. Smoked it. He used a bellows to make the cigars faster because he's a fucking child abuser.
Well, I mean, his uncle Scrooge, like the stingiest man alive, so why would we be surprised that Donald Duck's not a piece of shit?
Well, no, Donald Dunk plays basketball so good, but Donald Duck has a storied history of anger management issues.
Oh, definitely.
Every time he loses his lozenges and loses that smooth voice, he flies into a rage, jumping up and down, swinging his arms about.
Not
an effective fighting technique.
What I like is not to be mistaken by Daffy Duck losing his mind and going cuckoo.
Yeah, Daffy Duck's just got an altered mental state. Donald Duck needs to develop
road rage.
Yeah, but I want to talk more about Donald Dunk because he fucking he goes lights out with the fucking slam jams, dude. Holy shit!
Was he on the Harlem Globetrotters for a minute?
Yeah,
when they visited Scooby Doo.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right.
That was tremendous, guys. But back to the score.
This is my favorite album, everybody.
This album has an all-time top 420 playlist track on it.
You can put that on my probate court. When you're done, I like to burn you with my horn. Smoke something, let the edge be gone, and rewind the song and homie pass the bomb. Roll it up, please stop rolling up. Since back in the days.
Blaze, to me, number one song, best song, incredible song.
Very good song.
Does it make up for Roll It Up not Does it make up for Blaze's Roll It Up being about drinking?
Yes. This is the track that I wanted.
Blaze had a song called Roll It Up, which wasn't about weed. And Monoxide has a song called Blaze, which is about weed.
And then there's the part in the song where Blaze is rapping and they're saying Blaze, Blaze later on in this album, and it's amazing.
Blaze isn't on this album.
Yeah.
Oh, he definitely is.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
He's not credited on Wikipedia.
He's credited for being on track 5. Chris Rollo is Blaze.
Oh, I see. All right.
They keep saying Blaze when he's rapping.
No, I know.
That's how you know it's him.
Because none of this says featuring, because the song with Esham says featuring Esham. The song with Anybody Killa and Cash Cola says likewise. Oh, I just want to say before I forget, anytime Anybody Killa pops up on this album, actually, we're at the point in the Psychopathic Records discography where anytime Anybody Killa pops up on any track, I'm like, fuck, this guy's good.
Yeah.
He's got like a wild energy that is just super awesome.
That's great. He's really good.
Yeah, it's always, I feel the same way when he shows up. I'm like, oh damn, that's what I wrote. ABK with a big exclamation point.
It's my friend ABK.
Yeah, man, I just think that smoking weed is really rad. And, before I smoked weed, cause I used to be straight edge, you know, I guess I never was, but I used to claim straight edge. And what I thought about weed was like, oh, it's so cheesy, you know? The weed culture, it's so cheesy and horrible and embarrassing. And I didn't know why anybody would ever want to be associated with that. And then I started smoking weed and I was like, well, I don't give a shit what anybody fucking thinks, you know?
Right. I remember the first time Bill told me that I was the dude. And back then I was like kind of coming out of being Christian, but I was super hardcore straight edge because like I had to latch on to something. And so he showed me The Big Lebowski and I was like, cause you're like, oh, you're like the dude, Steve. And when I watched it, I was like super offended. It's like, fuck this movie. And then I started smoking weed 10 years later and like, it's like my favorite movie in the world now. So I super understand what you're saying. I was so angry and just, you know, had no love for like weed culture, and then I started smoking pot and then I got it.
Well, early in the album he says this album's gonna make you want to smoke, and that is what it does for me. It really makes me want to. In Blaze, when he's just like, he says whatever my favorite sport is, the Inhale 200, where we all just say fuck it and get blooded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I would like to hang out with the Monoxide Child and try to just smoke as much weed as possible. See what happens.
In 2004 or 5, well, I was listening to this more in 2005, not 4, because you guys were still around 2004 and I hadn't discovered this yet. It was 2005, 6, and 7 that I really was heavily listening to this album and a few other albums. So I was already a year behind even on this album. But just the amount of smoke, the amount, like how important weed was to me, which is like really expressed in this album. That was super me, you know, and I didn't have the money back in those days either. And he just, you know, talks about stuff like that. There's a line, it's not in Blaze, where he talks about if you can't buy smokes, then you can't buy weed, and shit like that spoke to me, you know?
Yeah.
I drink a lot of Diet Pepsi.
That Diet Coke?
I was thinking about you a lot, Bill, when I was listening to this.
I drink Diet Sodas a lot.
Yeah, me too. I drink a lot of Diet Coke, though. I don't like Pepsi.
Well, the first, I listened to this album in a variety of settings, and I put it on at work or whatever, but I didn't really give it solid listens until I was like at home sitting in front of my computer. And it did make me want to smoke weed. So I've smoked weed every time I've listened to this album. And, it just, like, as I get more high, the album gets bigger and bigger and more incredible and fantastic. To where it almost, I get, like, my notes are very detailed at the beginning of the album. And then by the end, I'm just, like, drawing smiley faces.
Peace signs.
You know? But yeah, it's just a real fun thing to do, man. Listen to Chainsmoker and smoke. It was great.
Yeah. Aspects of the album getting away from just like how it makes you feel and where I was doing in life, one of the things I wanted to point out is what I liked about the start of this album is just like going into track 1 a little bit. Like Psychopathic Records, especially ICP that we like the best. They have these like really neat intros and they're very elaborate and they give you a little insight of what's coming. And this one's just straight up him like yelling the microphone, I got one thing to say, long live the Chainsmoker, and then boom, like Bill said, this minute-long, hard-hitting song starts. And just, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I don't feel like too many albums of theirs start off that way. Or, I mean, Psychopathic in general, albums start off that way. And I kind of really appreciated that. That's why I liked that the skit was the second song. Cause I felt like that like got you like, oh my, like holy shit, this is what's coming up. And then you get this like funny skit, but also reveals about like his bad luck. And then you get See Me, the first real song that starts the album and starts his story.
Getting chased out of school by some thugs and thieves until I had to start bringing the peace to walk me. This is how it was and forever will be, known as a look into my history. You don't wanna see me. You black, don't really wanna test me. Like a black
And what I like about that, and if I'm jumping too far ahead now, you can stop me now, please, but I just wanted to say what I liked about at least starting off with the song See Me is just, I don't know if you really noticed, but, he's talking about being a kid and then being a teenager and all the crazy stuff he experiences, but the music is very like heavy synth and it's got this wow, wow, like these sounds and it's very 80s. And even some of it reminds me of like 80s Nintendo music a little bit too. And I just feel like, to me, I was like, holy shit, he's talking about being a kid and a teenager, and he was probably a kid in the 80s and a teenager in the late 80s. He's like, he may have been like, he's like maybe my age and was like in high school in 89, 88, 89. So he's got that 80s feel to it and then goes into the 90s and I just feel like that song represented, the sound represented what was happening in his life. And I don't know if you guys caught that or even noticed that about the music, if it sounded a little 80s to you or not, but I just wanted to point that out.
I definitely got the video game sensation on a later track, but I didn't pick that up on this. I do really love that kind of spacey, synthy production and the samples J-Ha uses, and all the Fritz tracks. I love all the music on all the Fritz tracks. I think is great on this album.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good
That's
album.
awesome, man. Well, Steve, I feel like I want to ask if you want to kind of just like take us through the album, like take us through the songs or however you want to do it. We didn't traditionally do track by track, but I would love to hear your thoughts on I would like for you to keep going,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go track by track. I'm going to be honest. The first 7 tracks were really what hit for me when I listened to this album. I would say it took me all the way to the song Slut and then I would stop listening.
Mm-hmm.
But actually I think I would stop listening before that. Eventually when I learned how to put these songs on a playlist, I mainly only listened to the first 7 songs, if I'm not mistaken, off this album. And it's not that the rest of the album isn't brilliant too, because it is, but I don't have as much of emotional connection to a lot of the songs like I do for the first part of the song, especially him being young. As he becomes Monoxide Child more throughout the album, I'm a little disinterested in the lyrics and the music's still great. And, the shoe went, that song, The Shoe Fits, is kind of funny to me because it's another pot song. And it's just if you want to be a pothead like us, put the shoe on. Kind of, it's just, that's silly to me.
Pot shoes.
Pot shoes. But,
those, Birkenstocks?
I can't see these guys wearing Birkenstocks, but.
No, I'm asking what a pot shoe is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Clamshell, Adidas.
Yeah.
Because the logo is the flower, the leaf.
Oh. But, so Light It Up. We'll start right back into Light It Up. I love the way it just comes in. I mean, it's not that he says anything super like deep or exciting other than he's just getting you amped. And I love the way he spells his name out.
Well, he spells his name out is
Yeah.
what he does, which if you didn't know how to spell it by the end of this album, you've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's
a lot of
in my
instructions. And like almost every single track, he really wants you. It's his solo album. This is
You know
Monoxide.
what? You know what? I think that fucking MCs spelling their names is the purest form of hip hop, and I think that more modern rap, more modern hip hop artists need to fucking spell their names.
What I think is funny is that the very first Monoxide Child verse that I ever heard in my entire life starts with him.
It's the M-O,
not being
N-O,
able,
and I can't even spell the rest.
That's the first words from this artist that I ever heard in my entire life.
That's pretty funny.
It's great.
And it takes too long and it needs a fucking cigarette. It all ties together.
Hey, time is a flat circle.
This dude is gonna get lung cancer. I'm not to laugh about it.
Have you ever heard his voice before, dude?
Yeah, I've heard it.
I need to send this to you guys, but on Instagram the other day he posted a diss on Shaggy. Well, I don't know if it's really a diss, but his voice is just so gravelly and scratchy from smoking.
Wait, sorry, what was the ICP diss? I missed it.
Somebody said, I think somebody commented maybe on his social media or something that said that he was better when Violent J wrote all his verses. And so he recorded himself reading that quote, and then he's like, that's funny, you know, Violent J never wrote a single line for Twisted, but I think you might have got me confused with Shaggy because he wrote all his shit.
Oh.
Well,
confirmed.
But I think but somebody commented actually on that Shaggy mentioned that in one of the Gathering of the Juggalos seminars or whatever, that Jay wrote lyrics for him.
But I was actually asking what the supposed diss is on Chainsmoker.
It's on the last song. It's on the very last song, and he talks about.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't write it down. I need to look up the lyrics of the very last song, which
he says, "Nothing changed but the chain and the charm."
Yeah.
No.
And then he says, but then for other artists with long hair and makeup,
yeah,
and they know who they are, and everyone knows who they are, something like that.
And then he talks about how he dropping the hook, he steals the show.
Yeah. Right, so, they're scared to see me coming because, like, with just one hook, I'll steal the whole song.
Yeah.
Why would a reference to long hair be about ICP?
It doesn't say long hair. It just says the hair.
Oh, the hair.
The hair and the makeup. And ICP at times had dreads and they have colored hair. Sure. I don't know. It may not be an ICP diss. I'm hoping it's not. I just didn't know if he just kind of snuck that in. Cause if I'm not mistaken, I feel like,
no, wait, isn't he talking about himself because of the twisted fucking stupid hair and makeup?
Why would
isn't
he say that?
Like isn't he saying that people discount them because of the hair and makeup, but then you just give him a hook and he'll prove everyone wrong?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. That's not how I
wonder if I could just completely misunderstood it.
Well, now I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find it on anything.
Well, the other thing is, apart from the tracks being all fucked up and disordered by name, there's virtually no information on the internet about this. Like, there is a Wikipedia page, and so you can get some stuff from that, but it's not as much as, not even close to as much as would be on any ICP record. And then on Genius, you can't even get lyrics to half the songs.
Yeah.
And like on Slut, the whole lyrics is just a question mark. One single question mark.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So, I mean, there's not a lot of info out there. So, I couldn't even confirm lyrics that I thought I heard,
What a pair of enigmas.
Yeah. Well. We'll never know.
Well, so I completely agree, Steve, and I pretty much tune out the second half. It all kind of blends together. It's all the same kind of vibe, and it's a little bit more aggressive. You have a lot of features from people, and that's kind of fun if Isham shows up or Jamie Madrox. But the song Changes is a completely different
I like
vibe
that
from
song.
the rest of the second half.
I can't believe that you would lie to her all these years and make her think that I just disappeared. And even though I know we hate each other, I would never try to keep her from her mother. I really want to change my ways, but I can only change so much. How can I trust that you won't use this change to crush into
The Changes song, it was incredible to me how much advocating for benevolence he communicates in different songs. You know, not in all of them. Some of those are like violent, but he also mentions his daughter on several tracks, and it's almost like he's really coming to terms personally with this thing that seems like it's sort of fresh in his life, and that has influenced a lot of the emotion that he's expressing on the record. And I was just not expecting something heartfelt, you know, and serious and compelling. Also, the lessons that he describes and the sort of teaching that he tries to offer from his experience is really, really valuable. Like, he's being really heartfelt and honest about it, you know? It feels like. And I just was not expecting to think or feel that way, you know?
You know, like in the song See Me, when he talks about being a teenager and talks about how, like, he drops out of school and like all he's really doing is having sex with girls. And he says, I'm so sick with it. And his mom's ashamed of him. And I just like, that was really cool to me because it seemed like such a real moment where he's like, yeah, I like to fuck, but it's a problem. My mom's even ashamed of it, kind of a thing. And obviously there's a song called Slut on the album later. And it's like the one song I don't really care for, obviously. And, so, I mean, it's still a part of his personality, but like he's having like this moment where he's just like saying, it's gross. Like, my mom's ashamed.
Now, I could be wrong, but I think the hook of Slut is him saying, I'm a slut.
He's a slut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then, cause I was like, the first time I heard that song, I was in the shower and like the song like started and I was like, ugh, God, no. But then I was listening to the song a little bit more. I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
It's not as bad as you think it is.
It's not as bad.
It's not as bad, but it's also not even like interesting. You know, I mean, it's
except for the part where they do the like,
oh, so bad. Oh, just gross. Why do guys want to write songs like this, dude? Who does he think is interested in hearing this song? Who wants to hear about him coming in a belly button? Like, it's
now, hey, hang on. If Violet J rapped about coming in a belly button, I'd probably listen. But it wouldn't be cool or sexy.
Right.
Be like, let's settle up my back, dirt.
Well, I'm not surprised that Steve didn't like the sex song, but I gotta say how much I just have to be honest. I really enjoyed the skit that goes into that one.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's actually a good skit. I hate to like it, but yeah, the way it ends.
Really, yeah. So really well acted. The characters are interesting, you know, and I think they're both him, or all him. Yeah. And then it takes you where you think it's kind of gonna go, and then there's like a little funny twist at the end or whatever.
Well, I'm not gonna like go into every single song. I'm gonna hit just a couple more little highlights of things. Stories, like things that were happening in my life that like remind me some of this, like when he talks about like in 2004, 5, and I was smoking really heavy. Like I had hookups, but when they run dry and they don't call you back and they don't tell you they're dry, they just don't call you back. You go to your spots. And he talks about like, why I go to this, like he waits at the spot till it gets hot and then he goes and buys everything that they got. Like, I love that. That shit is awesome. And like, I did that some, and that shit's scary when you don't do that a lot. And
wow. See, that's one thing that I can't even relate to because I've never done
dispensary.
I've never done illegal drugs. So, you know, like it's it's pretty fucking wild to me. And it's like probably not even controversial. Like people are probably like, what the fuck are you even still talking about weed for, right? No one gives a shit, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not legal everywhere, you know? And so, yeah, that experience of buying drugs illegally, I've never had it before.
See, the thing I related to him the most on the album is when he's talking about owning a hot dog stand.
I want a hot dog real bad.
Dude, I've had some hot dogs lately. They're real good.
Yeah, I've had some hot dogs too.
The Nathan's or the Hebrew National.
Nathan's. I had some Nathan's chili dogs for dinner just 2 nights ago. Chef's kiss. So, you know, stuff like that. Like I'm not going to pretend that my life was like his. I mean, I definitely grew up poor in a poor neighborhood and saw some crazy shit that's kind of similar to what he talks about. But like, I didn't carry a gun to school. People weren't beating me up in school like him, but I could see like and relate a little bit to what he's talking about with that type of stuff. I loved how he talks about like when he's in school and he had his moon boots and his dungarees. Like I looked that shit up and I remember moon boots. But like, you know, I just had to look up the image because I hadn't seen him in so long. And then like I looked up dungarees and correct me if I'm wrong. I guess those are overalls, right? Okay. Jeans. Okay.
Jeans.
Okay. You know, but just like, I love that he like talks about his like dorky look and all that type of stuff. Like to jump out of that song and just talk about like overall things that he does and like certain lyrics, like in, What Would You Do? He has a line. It's like one of my favorite lines and you guys are going to be like, oh, some other rapper did that already. But, and please let me know, but I only first heard him do it. And it's this line where he says, he's like, if you want to come and get me, I don't even have my with me. The way they work in the sound of a gun cocking to rhyme at the end. You know, I fucking love that shit. You know me, Bill. You know, I love sound effects and funny pictures. So like,
my favorite, like that's a really great trope in rap, and I love whenever it happens. And probably my favorite instance of that is MIA's. Like all I want to do is gunshot, 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 and cash register sound and get your money. The lyrics.
Yeah,
it's a good,
incredible. Yes,
that MIA turned out to be shitty.
I really like the chorus of that song. I know, like you guys kind of poked fun at some of the choruses. I like the chorus in this song because I like what he's actually saying. Sometimes the music in this album is not necessarily always the best, like, tracks that have been produced, but because his lyrics are so interesting, it really makes it cool, which feels like a flip for a lot of stuff. Sometimes you're like, well, I really like the music, but the words suck.
Are you talking about the chorus of What Would You Do?
Yeah.
The one that's like,
what would you do?
Half the chance.
I love that. I love the concept when he's saying.
Yeah, I like what he's saying about when you know somebody trying to turn out your lights.
Yeah. I love
like,
that.
So here's a like I don't have a problem with the lyrical content of the hooks. I was saying like generally, especially with Twisted, but with all psychopathic artists, not generally, a lot of times the hook of the song is really fucking dumb. Just in terms of like the melody and like it's like sing-songy and chanty because no one can really sing, so they just do like a chant, you know? I don't mean to diss them so much. It's just like I said, like they're like what they're saying isn't, but the presentation makes a lot of these hooks come across just corny as hell. And like I said, it's a testament to the songwriting that you find yourself singing these hooks that are corny.
Are you saying that you don't like, get your ass up out of my way, like there's like no music but a beat.
It's probably the low point on the album for me.
I love that shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Specifically,
I really like that
that
song. That song's awesome, though.
It's the worst chorus that's ever been in a song.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, is it worse than You're nuts, we want your nuts.
I don't know.
That one's pretty bad.
It's a close tie. Yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours about different lyrics that stand out to me and just like the crazy, like listening to this album, especially this album, because if I was showing this to friends, out of all psychopathic albums I was listening to at that time, which would include Wizard in the Hood and The Calm and I don't know, and then some older ICP stuff and Twisted stuff. Also Man's Myth and Mutant X. Like this album, everyone would be like, okay, yeah, you can play that because it's a rap album. Yeah. And it's not singing about like all these crazy serial killer stuff. And that was one thing I also didn't mention earlier is there's not a lot of people dying on this album. Like they sing a little bit about it. There's a lot of threats of killing people. But
well, they all die of cancer after the album. So.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
Along with that, is there any problematic language? Are there any slurs?
Someone uses the N-word, and I forget which song it is, but I'm not sure if that person's African American or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the guest star
that you can't look up.
Yeah.
Koala
His name's Kazakazam or something like that.
Yeah, it's Koala Cash. Cash Koala.
It's Kid Koala. It's Travis Tritt.
Yeah, but also, you know,
but there's no
F-bombs, no R words.
Yeah,
man.
Well, they do the in one of the songs, and it sounds like they're skipping it to make it sound like he's going derp, 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 derp. And I don't know if that's a reference to a comedian at that time or if they're just making fun of disabled people. But that was the closest. That was the closest.
Well, but that was something that I noticed, man. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe the least objectionable album we've listened to.
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what makes this, outside of my own personal connections to it and partying and doing all my stuff, listening to this and showing it to people and they actually being okay with it. It is a standalone from other psychopathic record albums with
go ahead.
What?
I was just laughing because I was about to be like, oh, did we never listen to the Zug Island album? And then I remember we totally did. I haven't had an episode about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure did.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree, Steve. I feel like it's got a lot of like, I don't want to say mainstream appeal, but I think it's just, I think that's what I should say.
More juggalos would prefer to listen to this if you're going to force them to listen to more non-juggalos would prefer to listen to this if you're going to force them to listen to a Psychopathic Records release than a lot of other albums.
9 out of 10 people who hate ICP prefer Monoxide.
Yes. Yes.
So are we at the point where I can riddle you piss with a brain twizzler?
Yeah, let's do brain teaser.
Let's do it.
So this is a thought experiment. Of the 6 members of Dark Lotus, and I mean ABK and not Mars.
Sure.
Of the 6 members of Dark Lotus, how do you each of you rank them just in terms of sheer ability as MC?
You want me to go, Ryan?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably say Jamie Monoxide. Jamie
Madrox.
No. I mean, I know. Jamie Monoxide. Blaze and Blaze, maybe, then Jay, and then ABK and Shaggy. I don't know. I mean, as far as talent, not my favorite. Jay's my favorite.
Sheer ability as an MC.
Cause I don't know, it's a top, Blaze is, I think I prefer to listen to Blaze a little bit more than Jay as far as him being better. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I personally think in terms of sheer ability as MC, I would rank them number 1 Madrox, number 2 Blaze, number 3 Monoxide, and then 4 would be a toss-up between ABK and Jay, and then Shaggy dead last.
Okay, well, we're not too far different. Yeah, that's not too far different.
But the vast difference between Monoxide and Blaze about content, subject matter, and like what I actually give a shit to listen to is night and day. Like, even though like I believe Blaze is like one of the most, if not the most skilled technical rappers that Psychopathic, MNE, whoever has. So Ryan, your ranking?
See, I just think that I could really be swayed depending on the day that that they would change because they're so close, and it's really hard
All
for
of
me
them? All six?
to distinguish. Well, I got Shaggy last. I got Jay above Shaggy. Initially I put Blaze next and then ABK, but I could definitely, I mean, I feel like they're so close to me. And then the next tier is Monoxide and Jamie. And I feel the same way that I kind of go back and forth.
Meaning the top tier? You're ranking them last to first? Okay.
Yeah, from last to first. Yeah, I just think the Twisted both of those guys are just in the top class, and then I put ABK and Blaze in the next section, and then Jay is definitely stronger than Shaggy.
And keep in mind, I'm basing my ranking of Blaze off of like the 2 albums, the EP, Dark Lotus and Psychopathic Rightus that we've listened to, and like his guest tracks. So like I have no idea how his arc goes like forward from here. I will tell you that in the last week I've listened to Magic Spells like fucking a bunch, and both members of Twisted are amazing on that song, and they're amazing in part because they both rap extremely well, but the hook and like the metal song that they made is extremely good and is like night and day from like the hooks on Chainsmoker.
Yeah, that song's really, really good.
That song's better than lots of things that are produced in any of those record labels. That song's special.
It's true. But like if I'm ranking like the ability of Twisted on that track versus what we've heard from Blaze, like it's no contest. Like they're both head and shoulders above Blaze. But like, and this can be something that we reassess as we go on. But like, just it's interesting. Like
that's true. We are only in 2004.
Yeah, but it's like we said, like our ranking of like ability versus who we actually like to listen to is like the rankings don't look anything like.
Oh yeah, not even close. Shaggy's at the top.
Yeah. All right, should we wrap it up? I guess talking about like 3 hours about Chainsmoker.
What are we gonna listen to next?
I'll tell you what we're gonna listen to next. We're gonna listen to
piece of shit.
That's right. No, Steve got it. We're gonna listen to the third. Yes, you heard me. The third album by Psychopathic Rightus, which is called "Check Your Shit In, Bitch."
I can tell you, I'm very excited to hear this.
Yeah. So you can listen to that, and if you want to get a head start on the following assignment, you know what it is. It's Jumpsteady's album, Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Whoa.
Yep. So got a couple of doozies coming up, guys.
Nice.
So
that's what it's called. Check your shit
in, bitch.
How does that work?
Like at a coat check?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Here's my bitch. Would you please? Nah.
Often when I'm going into a supper club, and I'm wearing my overcoat, the lady at the little window will be like, "Excuse me, sir," and I'll turn and look at them, and she'll say, "Check your shit in, bitch," and then I have to give them my coat, and they'll give me a little ticket.
Yep, can't wear that coat in there. That's an overcoat.
Kind of like when you go into Amoeba Records on Haight Street, they make you turn in your backpack.
There you go.
It is exactly the same thing, and then they give you a little playing card on a clothespin.
Yeah, or a fucking binder clip.
Wow. Remember record stores?
Yeah, remember buying shit in stores?
Remember buying music?
Remember music? Remember rock and roll radio? All right, this is going to be it. We've dawdled. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Steve has more to say.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate you guys letting me indulge on this album.
Oh, no.
It meant so much to me. I really love this album. And a lot of it's kind of silly
Steve,
why I like it.
Steve, I don't know how to bring it to you, but this entire fucking podcast is an indulgence, my man.
and it's a lot about you.
Arguably,
Shut up.
at least 33%.
Probably about 33% you.
Steve owns way more than 34% because I had to dip out for like half a dozen episodes. So you guys are both above a third.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Several extra hours of
It's,
Steve.
on this podcast way more than me. And speaking of that, Ryan owns this podcast fucking all the way because you should go to the Dim Carnival YouTube and check out the amazing shit he's been putting together. It's incredible. He's been building shit and filming shit, and oh my god, go check it out, guys. It's a brand new way to experience the podcast that you love so much. So go appreciate what he's been doing. Give him some thumbs ups and leave some comments and whatever else YouTube has. Click the bell. Smash that subscribe button.
Bells.
Smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications because it does a thing. But yeah, thanks to everybody for listening. We're very grateful as always. We love you guys. It's great to be back in the swing of things. We're really doing this. You guys don't know this, but at the time we're recording this, you're gonna hear this in the future because at the time we're recording this, we got a big old backlog of stuff we've recorded ahead of time, and it feels great because there's definitely gonna run into a situation where we're gonna have to dip out again for a little while. So it's nice to have a little cushion. But yeah, thanks to everybody. Check out the Dim Carnival YouTube page. Check out Dim Carnival on Instagram and Twitter, which is now Ryan's main method of doing shit with the world. So that's cool. And hey, you know what? Send us some emails. dimcarnival@gmail.com. If you got information about who Jay Ha is or who the mystery rapper is on this album,
or who they're dissing in that last song.
Dissing, what the lyrics are, upload them all to Genius. Go ahead and go work in the metadata of the album and fix the track
get
name.
that fixed.
And then email us at dimcarnival@gmail.com so we can appreciate our work. But yeah, thanks to everybody. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next week about Psychopathic Writers. And until then, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And please send me drawings of Donald Dunk.
Wear your mask and social distance.
We're talking about the new episode of the Dim Carnival. This way. This week we're talking about Monoxide's new album, Chainsmoker. I think you're going to like what Steve has to say about it. It's right this way on the Dim Carnival. Is Paul Methrick actually dissing the Wicked Clowns? We'll talk about it.
And then he shows like 20-minute video of how like he tries to like recreate.
You see the harp device is devised by the government to control the weather, and they won't talk about it on the mainstream media. That's why I moved to Mexico, so I free of government intrusions, because as a libertarian, I am strictly opposed to governmental microchip implantation. And I'm also against the rockers flagrantly violating the 5K.
Stop it. It's like torture. It's like torture. Stop it.
Well, I'm glad you guys like it.
I fucking love you, Bill.
I'm sweating.
I am.